Hey everyone, Mr. A here. How's everyone doing today? Pretty good, pretty good. We love to hear it. So, what we're going to be talking about today is pretty much having our sprites dance, aka giving it some life, some pizzazz, right? So, first things first is we got to select a sprite. So, to select a sprite, we're going to go over here where it says choose a sprite, and then we're going to go ahead and just choose a sprite. You have the ability to choose any sprite you want, but in my case, I am going to go with Anina. So, now that I have selected my sprite, if I want to make my sprite dance, I have to check its costumes first. So when I click on costumes, this shows me all the different costumes that my sprite has. So with these costumes, what I can do is have my sprite switch between costumes so it gives it the effect of my sprite dancing, right? So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So anytime you start a new line of code, we're going to go to our events block. Our events blocks are used to initiate or start code, right? So I'm going to go ahead when the green flag is pressed, we're going to initiate our code. So how can we switch costumes, right? So if we go ahead and click on looks, here you're going to see the switch costume block. So what we're going to do is go ahead and drag that out, right? And I'm going to drag out another one. So I can switch between two different costumes, right? So, see here where it says switch to costume Anina Pop R arm. So these costumes are actually labeled in our costumes actually. So you have Anina top stand, Anina top R step, Anina top L step, and all that good stuff, right? So what I'm gonna have Anina do is just have Anina top R step and then have Anina go into a top L step, right? So now I have my sprite switching between two costumes, right? So when I click the green flag, obviously it was able to switch costumes, but it wasn't able to switch back to the first costume, right? How can we have our sprite change costumes over and over and over again? Any ideas? So if we go ahead into our control blocks, you see this cool little block called a forever block. So what this forever block does is pretty much repeat this code over and over and over as long as the green flag is pressed, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Is it changing costumes? No, not really, right? So the reason why it's doing that is yes, it is forever switching costumes, but it's doing it so fast that our sprite, you can't really see it, right? So what I'm going to do now is introduce you to these wait blocks. So these wait blocks pretty much allow some time between our blocks, right? So I'm gonna have it switch to our step and then wait. Let's go with zero point 0.5 seconds. Can be 1 second, 3 seconds, up to you, right? And then have it switch to another costume, and then once again have it wait for another zero point 0.5 seconds so it can go back to the next costume, right? So now I have some time between my costumes, allowing my sprite to actually show like it's dancing, right? So let's go ahead and click that green flag. Ah, yes, now we are dancing. So now we have our sprite that's able to dance, right? So let's go ahead and create another sprite and have that sprite dance. But in this case, I'm going to show you that Scratch gives us the ability to create our own sprite, which is pretty awesome, right? So what I'm going to go ahead and do is pretty much just draw a happy face, right? So I'm going to give it 50% thickness on the marker. Go ahead and draw my. I apologize in advance for my horrendous drawings. I'm not the best of drawers, but bear with me. So give it some eyes, and go ahead and give it a happy face. Sweet. So that's one costume for my sprite, right? So if I want to go ahead and create another costume, I'm gonna go ahead and right click up here, duplicate, and now I have costume two, right? But remember with Anina how it was labeled everything so appropriately, so when you're switching costumes, it's so easy to find which costume is which. We're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna call this happy, right? Because that's the costume for the happy face. And for this one, what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go ahead and erase the smiley face, and then we're gonna turn that smiley face upside down. So now, bit of an error, right? So if we go ahead and just undo what we just did. We're going to go ahead to ignore that issue we just had. We're going to go ahead and convert to bitmap, right? Once we convert into a bitmap, now we're able to use the eraser. Let's increase the thickness of that eraser, right? And now I'm able to erase the smiley face with no issues, right? So now let's go ahead and turn that frown upside down. Sad to say, but just for demonstration purposes. So now we got our sad face, right? So if we go to our code for our sprite, obviously we haven't programmed our sprite to do anything, right? But before doing that, let's go ahead and let's just resize our sprites, right? Look how crowded my stage is. So what I can do to change the size of these sprites is go ahead and click on size and change it to 100, and I'm gonna change it to, let's go with 50% size. And then go ahead and change our sprite as well to 50. And if they're still overlapping each other, you can go ahead and click on the sprite, move it to the side just so we can see our sprites dancing, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and click on my face sprite, and I'm gonna go ahead and program it to switch costumes, right? But first things first, we need to have our events block, right? Because we always need an events block when we do any new line of code. And we're gonna go ahead and go back to switch costume, right? But before even that, let's go ahead and set it up correctly so our program does not fail. So let's go ahead because we're going to be switching costumes forever, right? Go ahead and grab that forever block. Go back to looks, and we're going to switch costume, right? And then we're going to switch from happy, right? Wait about 0.5 seconds. 0.5 seconds. And then from there, we're going to switch costumes once again into costume 2. But since it says costume 2, if I go back to my costumes, I actually never renamed it. So let's go ahead and call it sad this time. So now when I go back to my code, now it pops up as sad, right? And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and give it another wait block. 0.5 seconds, right? And look at that. Now we have our sprites having a cool little dance off. So that's the end of the video. So I want you to go ahead and try these programs out at home. And once you get a cool dance off, go ahead and save the video and send it to me.